Hello, my name is Alexis Ross, and this is my speaking assignment for my introduction to ethics class, Philosophy 212. So to start this off, I want to talk about my topic and why I chose this topic. So I chose the topic of abortion and if there's an exception for abortion when it comes to rape. And I chose this topic because I feel it's a very big topic in our society today. And I feel it's something that kind of needs to be discussed more. I feel like it's not discussed a lot because of the different views and opinions, and there's a lot of ethical opinions on it as well. But so that's the reason I chose to talk about this today. So I am going to use part of my essay as like a source, and I did have a couple of sources within my essay that I used, but I want to talk about one of, excuse me, I'm sorry, I lost my place. I want to talk about, within the paper there was 8 cases, and you got to choose what case you wanted to talk about, and so I chose the case that talked about, and well, it was in 1963, but there was a patient in a mental hospital that raped another patient that was also in the mental hospital, and the girl's an unmarried girl who suffered from a schizophrenic diagnosis, and she was impregnated from this rape. And so the victim's father, the one who's raped, her father, after he heard what happened, charged the hospital with culpable negligence and requested that the doctors there perform an abortion to end the unwanted pregnancy while the embryo was still in an early stage of development. And this is where it kind of gets into the ethical side. Like, you know, it's an embryo. Does it deserve to be aborted? Even within being this early of a stage, does it deserve to be terminated regardless of the reason? But the staff and the administrators at the hospital refused the victim's father's request, saying that the criminal law forbids all abortions except for therapeutic ones, which just means ones that are like where the mother's life is at stake. And their ethical opinion behind it is that any interference with the life of the embryo after fertilization is murder, or taking an innocent human life. So that is the case that I chose to discuss. So when I refer back to the case, that's what I'm referring to. But so I do want to talk about another case that I found where there was a victim and she was raped, and she talks about a little bit, doesn't really necessarily talk about her story, but uses her story as inspiration to try to have others understand her pain and what she went through, while also believing that, you know, people who have been raped should be able to have an abortion if they want to. But in this article that she wrote, she stated, but if Americans really want to ensure that those who have suffered rape or incest, as she did, or as I did, are able to terminate the pregnancies that result from these crimes, they need to realize that adding a few words for exceptions to laws otherwise prohibiting abortions doesn't actually protect these victims. If the state has dramatically limited access to these abortions, they will face dramatically limited access as well. So basically, what I got from that is that states that do have exceptions for, because now states are banning abortions all in general, there are a few states who do have exceptions for rape or incest, but then along with that, you have to also be able to prove that you were raped, and along with already going through all of the trauma that a rape victim goes through, and then with having to prove that they were raped, I just feel that's a little extreme. And so these states are making life-changing decisions for these women, and some of them, like these states, could be men making the decision, could be women. I feel that if states are going to make this decision, it should be someone who can physically go through this pain, as a man can go through getting raped, but cannot go through getting pregnant from this rape. I feel that a woman should be able to make that decision for other women who are going to have to deal with the decision that's made based on that. So I just feel it's going to be hard for hospitals, or who decides where this line is for women. You know, what if a woman is abused or raped, and then it wasn't super recent, and then she finds out that she's pregnant and she goes to get an abortion, but since there's not any recent scarring, or you can't physically see that she was raped, so are you going to deny her access or the option to have an abortion because you can't physically see that she was raped? And then you have to decide if her story is true. So I just feel with trying to say that women cannot get abortions, and then having to try to decide who gets one and who doesn't, and who has the option to get one and who doesn't. I just feel that it's too hard of a complication to decide that. On the other hand, what others will say is that one may say that there should be an exception for rape due to the fact that it's unethical to take a life when that life did nothing wrong. And according to an article from the Washington Post, in a letter, one stated, "Nevertheless, it is our view that the value of human life is not determined by the circumstances of one's conception or birth. So I see where they're coming from, but in the cases of rape or incest, I feel that the woman who went through the traumatic experience should be able to decide what they're going to do with being impregnated, and that it is her right to do so. I do not feel it's up to the people involved in politics, who, like I said before, could be men, making this important decision about what a woman should have to do with her own body. So in conclusion, I feel that abortion should have an exception when it comes to rape or even incest, due to the fact that the woman who experienced the trauma first hand should get to decide what she wants to do with her body, when in the first place she didn't have a choice because she was physically assaulted. So you have someone who physically assaulted did not have a choice, and then you're going to take away another choice of hers by telling her that she does not have an option to get an abortion, even if she wants one. So I feel that for the opposing side saying that a life should be saved at all costs unless the mother's life is in jeopardy, I just want them to think about how this will affect the mother in the long haul, and how it will affect the child's life and their outcome of life. So thank you for listening. Have a great day.